everybody, my name is Molly Roberts, and this is my presentation on the Technological Concept Map, aka the Summative Assignment Concept Map for CIS 105. Now, before we get into the so-called technological concepts, we need to discuss what these concepts really are. These are concepts that we have discussed throughout the semester within our textbook that I'm going to break down by terminology and then talk about how said terminology plays into the concept map that I'm going to be presenting throughout the presentation. Now, the best term to start off with in terms of these concepts is the concept of hardware, which our textbook defines as any part of a computer or a computer system that you can physically touch. Now, this is the computer itself, the parts inside, like the motherboard, the keyboard that may be attached to the monitor, or even input devices, external input devices such as a mouse. The hardware interacts with our other term that we are going to bring up, which is software. Software, once again defined by the textbook, is the set of computer programs or instructions that tells the computer what to do and that enables it to perform basic tasks. Now, such software can be in the form of applications, such as with the Microsoft Office applications, which we will be discussing later, with gaming applications, or gaming software such as Steam or the likes. Finally, we have the operating system, which the textbook defines as the system software that controls the way in which a computer system functions, including the management of hardware, peripherals, and software. Now, we do have applications such as Microsoft Office, that is its own separate hardware, which is within the operating system of Windows Microsoft. This is how the operating system is able to control its subsection of softwares or applications, and that is applicable to Apple and the likes. It is the operating system that controls when the hardware is going to contact with the software, when they are going to communicate with peripherals such as that mouse I was talking about before, and etc. Now we are going to look at our concept map to see how these separate systems interact as a whole. Now, this system is what I call the operation of the computer, in which the hardware, the software, and the OS are all operating in order to make the piece of technology functional. The hardware and the software are connected in the fact that the hardware gives the software directions, the software is what allows the hardware to have purpose, the software is communicating with the OS, and vice versa, and the OS in the way gives hardware a purpose as well, in which the hardware is able to enable the OS to function. Moving on to networking, we have the definition of the exchanging of information from one system or person to another. Now, this could be through social media, in sharing pictures, this could be emailing back and forth between a friend or a coworker, and this could also just be in the form of texting. Now, networking can also be computers exchanging information with one another instead of people exchanging information with each other. So, for example, it could be a computer in which data from one computer is sent to another, an update from one big server to another smaller computer. This is your router communicating with your laptop. This is a lot of networking happening at a lot of different levels. Now, this connects to the system of our computer operation in the fact that networking would not be possible unless the computer was able to function properly. So all that software, hardware, and OS technology is what allows networking to happen as a whole. Moving on to security. Security is the ways in which the process of computing can be taken advantage of and protected. In other words, how can security be both breached and enhanced? So security is just the question of how is my technology being protected, or if we were looking at it from a negative connotation, how can people take advantage of my technology if I'm not being careful to secure it properly. Now, some ways in which people are able to secure their computers or technology properly is through the use of a Face ID, a password, a firewall to protect themselves against hackers and viruses, and also just updating their computer to make sure their antivirus software and programs are all running up to date. Now, a way in which someone may hurt another person's technology through a security sphere is through hacking, such as a denial of service attack, a Trojan horse. They can phish someone, they can commit identity theft by stealing someone's personal information. There are a ton of ways in which someone can take advantage of another person through the sphere of security. Now looking at security on our concept map, we have the function of the computer along with networking with that functionality, and then we have security connecting to the functioning of the computer, how people network, and vice versa. So with security, the functioning of the computer is altered through hackers and how well you decide to protect your technology. Security comes in the form of networking, in which others can take advantage of networking through text messages, emails, etc. to steal information from people and back and forth. However, security would not be an issue unless these things are running properly and existed in the first place. With that security and that networking and that computer functionality comes web development. Web development is the process of developing and maintaining a web page or web-based application. What I mean by web page and or web-based application could be something, for example, like Instagram. Instagram is both a website that someone can use on their laptop, and it is also an application that can be downloaded on their mobile device, such as a phone. Web development is creating said Instagram, maintaining it, making sure that there are no bugs in the system, ensuring that it's working properly for everybody else, etc. HTML, otherwise known as Hypertext Markup Language, is a series of tags that define how elements on a website should be displayed in a browser. It is the most basic formatting language. Now, HTML, which we will later discuss on the concept map, is how web developers are able to develop such web-based applications. Here's an example from the assignment that we did where we had to create a website based on HTML text. HTML text and the programming itself is coming to fruition through the use of tags. Now, the HTML tag, which can be seen at the very top of the wall of text, I apologize for how long it is the greater than and less than signs with HTML embedded in between. HTML signifies to the computer running the system that this system is going to be operated based on the HTML language. These tags are then broken down into separate sections based on how they will look on the website. For example, there's the heading, there's our body, and then there's heading subsections within such head section based on those greater than or less than symbols, which are denoted as tags. Looking at this all on a concept map, as we previously discussed, HTML kind of is connected to web development in the fact that web developers are able to develop their websites through HTML. HTML kind of dictates how web developers do develop their websites. Web development is connected to networking and how the computer functions as a whole, because without networking and without functioning computers, we wouldn't have development. And on the other hand, security connects to web development because it is up to web developers to ensure that their websites and applications are secure enough against hackers and are able to be kept secure with their users in order to prevent anything bad from happening. Also, on the other hand, ensuring that they are secure enough to protect personal information such as credit card information, living information, etc. With that, we're moving on to design concepts, which is the process in which all aspects of computing, whether it be the design of the hardware, the design of the software, the design of how websites look, etc., are designed. In other words, how are these aspects going to function both separately and together? Will the size of a hard drive affect how much space it has to run software? And will the software decide how a website is going to function? Will a website decide if software is going to work properly, etc.? On our concept map, of course, this is connected to everything. Design concepts and the concept of designing websites through web development wouldn't be able to happen. Web development wouldn't be a thing unless concept designing went along with it. HTML, this is how concepts are hand in hand. You wouldn't be able to design certain software, certain web applications without HTML. Security is an issue as well. Looking at, oh hey, if I am going to design this specific piece of hardware, how is this going to be in terms of security? Is this easily accessible through hackers? One of the greatest examples of this, in my opinion, even though we don't really think of it as technology as often, are credit card readers, especially at gas stations, whether or not those types of technologies can be easily taken advantage of by others, how people are going to network through such concept designs with the hardware, and exactly how the concept of the computer working is going to connect to the concept of what it looks like in the design. Now getting to my favorite part about computing as a whole is the Microsoft Office applications, which are defined as an array of professional and personal software applications created by Microsoft. We have Microsoft Outlook in the top left, which can be used for both personal, work-related, education purposes in which you can email people back and forth. Word, a word processing application, can be used for education, work purposes. Excel, which mainly takes in data, organizes it, uses spreadsheets, is mostly numerical based. PowerPoint, in which you can create slideshows. Microsoft applications have so many uses in our modern world, and they are all condensed to make it easier for the user to interact with. Now, on our concept map, Microsoft Office is connected to concept designs because it is the concept designers that have designed Microsoft Office. Microsoft Office is connected to how the computer functions. People are able to network through Microsoft Office. Security is obviously a factor, as personal information is often input into, let's say, applications such as Excel, in which monetary numbers are something of a security concern. Microsoft Office was developed in turn with concept designers and web developers, and it uses HTML. Now to tie this all together into the biggest part of this presentation, which is the ethical and moral behaviors and how the individual can use each and every one of these processes. The ultimate question that everyone asks themselves while using technology is, how am I, the user, going to either positively or negatively use such technology that I have available to me? Now, the best way to discuss this question is to look at the concept map as a whole. It is finished. We've been through all the parts in connection to the individual, which is me, who is pictured on the right. Now, people use technology in different ways. I'm going to be discussing, because I think it will have the most accurate description of how I use technology and how ethics play into my moral standards. Now, we're going to start at the base level of how the computer functions and then work outward from there. I can wake up every day and choose to use my computer ethically by deciding what softwares I want to use, what OS I want to use, what type of hardware I want to use, whether it's ethically sourced or not. Let's say I stole the hardware from somewhere. That's not ethically using technology. I need to buy my computer, get it from an ethical source in order to be using it in a proper manner. Moving on to networking, when I'm actually using my computer, I can choose to be a kind person online, put positive things into the atmosphere, make sure that the things I'm looking at are ethical in nature, or I can choose to go on networking sites that maybe aren't so helpful, maybe aren't so positive, leave some negative reviews, be a quote-unquote troll. I have complete control over how I network with other individuals. Moving to our outside sphere with security, web development, and HTML, security-wise, I have a ton of options here. I can choose to update my firewall. I can choose to put good software into my computer to ensure that nothing is really going to get through, ensure that hackers don't have access to my information. But on the other hand, I could choose to be a hacker myself and impose on other people's security. I have complete control over what I want to do over my security and, if I really wanted to, the security of others. However, since I am an ethical person, I choose to use security in the sense of positively protecting myself rather than negatively impacting others. In terms of web development and HTML, I see them both in rather the same light because I would use HTML in order to web develop a website that is ethically used with the public, is ethically used as a whole, and has ethical information within it. I don't want to create a website that would bring other people down or harm people in some way. Moving to our outer sphere with design concepts and Microsoft Office. Now with concept designing, I can choose to either take part or use softwares, hardwares, websites that have been designed ethically and are positive for the user involved. If I'm looking at a website that looks like it's a scam, has a bunch of ad pop-ups, has a bunch of things that are trying to catch people off guard, I'm probably not going to be pro that design concept because it's not super duper ethical. Same with Microsoft Office. I need to use Outlook ethically when I'm networking with other individuals. I need to make sure that I'm using Word properly. I need to ensure that my Excel isn't getting leaked to other people. I need to ensure that I'm using Excel for the best of its abilities rather than keeping track of, let's say, unethical information. All of these things are interconnected in how the individual can choose to use them. It is both their individual uses and how they impact others, especially in terms of security and networking, that ultimately decide how ethically someone is using this technology. I've given you my example, but I've also given you other examples of how people may use such technologies, such concepts, such processes in an unethical way. It is up to us as a society to use technology in an ethical way in order to promote positive change within the technological sphere and make sure that people are honestly just being the best people that they can be in the realm of technology. Here is my works cited. I got all of the information from the textbook throughout multiple sources, so I have cited multiple chapters, which is why I have cited the textbook as a whole, and all pictures present within this PowerPoint are either from stock images or online images gathered from Microsoft PowerPoint. Thank you so much for listening.